Hello all my JavaScript friends, this is TheVirtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is our Hold That Tower game. This is our last video in the series for that Hold the Tower game, and so in this particular video we're going to be taking a look at all the things that we did well and the things that we can improve upon for the game. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, first of all, the big thing I think that went well with this one is that how we structured our software. So this is our general software design. As you know, we use Cypress for all of our testing. We built a little sandbox at the very beginning. I learned this from the racing car game. I just built a quick little sandbox to try to test a couple of theories on things that I could do with the Hold the Tower game. And once I was pretty happy with how things worked, then we put everything together and we started working on the game itself. This is the TDD section. This one I probably needed to do a little bit more fleshing out on. I did a lot of design work at the very beginning to try to figure out what are the things we're going to be able to need here. But as we actually got into developing the game, there were some things I really did not use. For example, ammo and missile pretty much are basically the exact same thing. Missile wasn't even really used. Ammo was only kind of half used. It became bullet, basically. But I do want to keep that class in case I want to have different types of ammo available. And this also, the original design also had me sitting there thinking, I would have enemies that would be able to shoot at all the different runners and kill the different runners and things like that. Or they could actually shoot the tower. So kind of do some extra damage to the tower. That also gave me the ability to think about having some sort of defensive wall. And I decided not to have a defensive wall in this particular case. But anyway, the unit tests were pretty well encompassing, but there were a couple of things that were missing from it. What I was really very happy about was how I did the classes. This is something I kind of learned from the racing game just a little bit, and I really expanded upon this. And in our next project, which you probably already know what the next project is going to be by the time you hear this particular video, but in our next project, we're going to really double down on what I'm getting ready to tell you. The idea here is that all of these different classes represents, for lack of a better term, business logic for the game. For instance, the tower itself. This is all the information that we have. Let me just clear this off here. This is all the information we needed for the tower. What's its health? What's its max health? What the runners, what the defensive wall is going to be, although we didn't use defensive wall in this particular case. What the turret rotation speed is going to be, how many guns it had, and so on and so forth, and all the different things it needed to be able to do to be able to run the game. What kind of damage do I need to take? I need to set the maximum health. I need to set my health, set the turret rotation speed, update the health, update this, update that, add a runner, add a gun, so on and so forth. So if you notice here, though, none of this code actually draws anything on the screen. It just says, I need a new gun. I need to update my runners. I need to do this. I need to do that. But it doesn't do any kind of UI. Where it has to do the UI work is within this UI section. And this UI section is something that is created within the constructor. And there it is right there. In fact, there it is right there. This UI is the new tower UI. And so when we take a look at the UI section, there's basically almost a one-to-one correspondence between the JavaScript file or the business logic and the UI logic. And why did we do this? And the reason that we did this was that let's assume that at one point I have a completely different UI for the tower, because right now this tower does absolutely nothing except load up a really ugly looking circle. In fact, let me just show that to you here real quick. We'll hit new game. It just loads up a really ugly looking circle in the middle of the screen, and that's it. But if I wanted to be able to change that, all I have to do is go into the UI tower and change all the information within the UI tower. Or if I really want to get fancy with it, I would create a completely new UI tower, and then within the tower.js, instead of calling it new tower UI, I may call new super tower UI or whatever. But the key here is that as long as I'm having it equal to UI, and as long as I'm using everything that may have a create function to it, or if it has, the different X, Y, different radius, different image. Let me just show you a better example of kind of what I mean there. Let's go to the statistics one. I just got finished recording the statistics. But in the statistics UI, in the statistics itself, let me rephrase that, I have all the information here to be able to access the UI. So if I, here's the create function. If I wanted to upgrade the health of the or the health button, then I call the UI function to do the health button. So the idea here with all of these classes is that I now can say basically, let's go back to statistics here. I can now basically say, for a UI point of view here, I want to be able to call a routine here to be go ahead and I was sitting here. Okay, this was confusing. I was sitting here. I'm in the UI section. One more time. Here we go. Whew, I was saying, what's going on here? So if we take a look again at statistics class, the whole idea here is that I can call the statistics UI, and all I have to do is make sure the statistics UI has an get button upgrade health, has a set wave, has a set health, has a set max health. If it has all of that, I can create the statistics.js. I can create a super statistics.js. I can create a super duper statistics.js inside the UI, and it does not matter. From a statistics point of view, all I care about is I just want to make sure you have all of these different methods. And so what this allows then the game to do is call to statistics and say, okay, we got a new wave. I want you to set the wave. Statistics, I want you to set the new wave. How you draw that out, I could not care less. You just set a new wave. This means that all we have to do is just change the UI statistics to be able to change the UI completely. And if we take a look again at our structure, a vast majority of these business logic JavaScript files also has corresponding JavaScript files inside the UI. So the idea is that the business class takes care of all of the interfacing between the game, all of the updating, all of the deleting, all of the creating, while the UI classes here does the actual physical creations of the UI. What this also means is that for some reason I want to go to a 3D and use Babylon.js, for example. All I got to do is replace all this UI stuff with Babylon.js stuff, and we're pretty much done at that point. Now, not really, because this game was more designed to be 2D, not 3D, but we'll get into that a little bit later on with another project, as you hopefully already know by now. I'm recording this before I've made the announcement for the new project. So that's the one thing I did really, really well on in this design, is that I've got each one of these, especially with the enemy stuff, each one has got its own UI associated with it, and I have completely separated the UI from the business logic, and that just makes life a whole lot easier if I ever want to change that in the future. Also, I have enumerated absolutely as much as I possibly can, all the different tower types, all the different prizes we could have had, all the different positions of the guns. The guns are going to have up to 12 guns per positions, all the different game events that could occur. This is one of the big ones, because the game basically handles all the different game events. Enemy type is huge, because the enemy type basically says, here are all the different 20 types of enemies we possibly have. Oh, and by the way, here's some definitions for it. Like for the shadowing here, this one happens to have animation applied to it. This is what it would look like if it's coming in from the left. If it has walk, attack, and death. If it's coming in from the right, walk, attack, and death. If it's coming from the top, walk, attack, death, and so on and so forth. Here are the different sprites and here's the different locations within that sprites of the frames of the sprite sheet that it has. So using enemy types in this particular way, I could define just a simple, just use an image and don't worry about it, or I can define a very complicated animation sequence. So, and again, all this is completely separated from the UI. So I have all of this. I can then, if I have a different 2D program that uses sprite sheets slightly differently, it doesn't matter, because enemy types has all the data that I need. I just got to be able to have it be able to know how to interpret the data from enemy types. Same thing with the card upgrade. This allows me to be able to say, hey, if I've got a new type of upgrade, all I have to do is just go in here and grab a new upgrade type for different types of cards, and then just basically tell it how to upgrade the information, and that's within the game event itself. All the different card types, different button upgrades, different ammo types, and this is something that wasn't used in our particular case, but we hopefully use it into the future. So that's the great thing that really was done with this game, and we'll be exploring that with some other projects in greater detail. And what I would improve upon, still got a couple of bugs. Every once in a while, it doesn't know that the wave is ended, and it just kind of sits there and does nothing. So obviously my routine for figuring out the wave is ended or not is not quite there. I would like to obviously get animations done for all the different enemies. That would be really, really cool. It'd also be nice to go and have, as I mentioned here with the ammo types, since we're looking at this thing, have different types of ammos, have enemies who can shoot missiles, and I also have a defensive wall, which basically is something I can have extra armor on that will absorb maybe, say, 50% of the damage that comes from a particular missile. That was just a little bit too much to be able to put into the system. There's a little bit too much to put into the system here for this particular game. That's something we could always work on in the future. Or, as I've always said, this code is all free to you. You can just grab it and take a look at it, and you can make your own modifications to it. So, those are the kind of things I would like to be able to work on this game and to get it up and running. Let's just select faster runner here. Also, I'd like to be able to use a mouse here. Right now I'm using a game controller. I would like to be able to use a mouse and a keyboard. So we'll need to type inputs for the mouse and the keyboard. I wanted to use the controller because I had never used the controller before, but Phaser.js, it makes it really, really easy to use a controller. And so that would be another thing that I would like to be able to do on there. So we'll just we'll let him hit me there, and because I want to show you the one last thing. Oh, I love that little attack thing. Oh, I don't care because we're gonna let it die here. So the last thing I want to be able to do is, well, I should die with the next 1 to 2. Yeah, this one should kill me. These guys, nope, almost. Now it should. There we go. Obviously, I'm gonna have a better game over screen that gives you better information. I also noticed that you can still, although I don't have anything here, you can still click on the upgrade buttons even after the game is over, and to be able to have some sort of restart new game. That would be the other thing I'd like to have on there. But that's basically, so that's one of the things So the game over screen is something that's I want to change. Have statistics on there. Have a hey, restart game, yes or no. And it'd be nice to keep a high score there. If we had some sort of score basically is how many waves you had to go through, how many monsters you had to kill to go through, how many upgrades you had to do, all the statistics, and all that would combine to give you some sort of pointage, and that pointage you can save off and kind of select kind of some sort of high score screen. That would be really, really nice too. So this is one of the other last things that I'd like to be able to change for this particular game. And there you have it. That is our Hold the Tower game. That will end this particular series. As the months go along, if I think I want to kind of get back to it and do a couple of things, I would do a couple of things, but I really don't expect to do much more on this game until sometime in the middle of next year. I do plan to do a phase 2 for all the games that I'm working on, but a lot of that won't occur till next year. So I just wanted to thank you very much for sticking with us on the Hold the Tower game. If you have any questions, just leave comments. I'd be more than happy to answer them when I have a chance to get around to them. I've been very busy here lately. So thank you very, very much for sticking with us on this Hold the Tower game. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel to view more videos. Click on the like button on this video and visit us at TheVirtuoid.com. Also, support us on Patreon, where you can get access to member-only videos. Links are down below. Again, thank you very much for watching, and keep on coding.